They're among the most graceful and decorative of Australian birds.
No, it was. It's not a native species. It's not a native
They're
species.
a native bird.
They're a native bird
Yeah.
to Australia.
People don't like them.
No. And why do you think people don't like it?
They don't really understand the bird, I don't think.
Get out of the bin!
Okay, are we ready? Yeah, oh good, okay. So my name's Dr. Gráinne Cleary. I've just written a book called Your Backyard Birds. One of my favourite urban birds is the ibis. It was one of the first birds I saw when I came to Australia. It was just this long-legged bird with a big mad beak. And it was, a bird that immediately caught my attention.
Ibis are the classic Aussie battler story, essentially. They had their homes destroyed and they packed their things up and decided to move on and find greener pastures.
And so when they got here, realised that there's plenty of nesting sites and there's heaps of food. Their breeding took off and they said this is paradise.
The ibis's journey into our urban spaces really started at Hillsville Sanctuary, where we had populations that we were breeding. Those populations were then given to Taronga Zoo again as a breeding program, and they were hugely successful.
The ultimate in zoo living, of course, is to be completely free, like the ibises, experimental zoo exhibits without cages. The Liberty flock consists of 14 white ibises and 5 straw-necked ibises, and they're typical of those found in marshes, swamps, fields and riverbanks in most parts of Australia. They're among the most graceful and decorative of Australian birds.
The ibis love here in our urban spaces. They're in areas like our palm trees. They don't naturally nest in these areas, but they've adapted that within the urban space.
They get up into the fronds of the palms and they nest all around those, nice and protected, high up. Everything that they need is supplied in that one little area, the food, the nesting, and that's why the city is such a great environment for them.
The ibis gets a very bad name, and this happens a lot with urban birds. If a bird survives in an urban area in high numbers, we often see it as a pest.
It's interesting to see the variation on people's attitudes to ibis. You've got those that are the haters and they're calling them the bin chickens. And then you've got on the other end of the spectrum, there's a movement out there to try and make the ibis a mascot for the 2032 Brisbane Olympics.
I think it's a great idea. It will really provide a spotlight for these birds and start some conversations happening. And I think those conversations can then start to turn towards what human impacts are having on our natural species. Bloody rush hour.
Back in 1995, an ibis went through the engine of a Qantas Airbus plane, and that kick-started a whole lot of work to manage the numbers of ibis that were on the Gold Coast at the time. The reality is they're a really amazing species that I've come to respect. I think they deserve the respect.
And once you kind of start telling people the whole story, that the ibis are actually the birds that are doing well because of urbanisation, where there are so many water birds that are on the decline, 50% declines globally, ibis are one of the winning species.